Welcome back to the Sports Hub Golf Club. Joining me now, Chris Forsberg from NBC Sports Boston, who, Chris covers the Celtics. However,
That means I have some free time on my hands.
well, you're not the only Celtics. You're not the only person in the Celtics universe who's making tea times right now and focusing in on golf.
Unfortunately.
Wow.
That was the one thing that I tried to be the silver lining as the season comes to a close. It meant the tee sheet was wide open. It was time to work on some of the ailments that were afflicting me during the course of the regular season, and see if we can just be better in the off season. Just like the Celtics, just trying to get better.
Right, just trying to improve. Now, Chris, you and I talked earlier in the season. We really didn't talk much about our games. So just give me a little, state of the union with Chris Forsberg and his golf game. How much you've been playing, how you're playing, and feel free to go back as long as you want. I don't even know when you took the game up.
But,
bring me up to speed on everything.
When I was a small child, there's a place out here called Pine Ridge in Oxford. I think they had like $300 kid memberships, and my parents used it for daycare, where I would be dropped off, and 36 holes later, and maybe a couple hot dogs and a Mountain Dew later, they'd pick me up at night. But it was great. Like I really loved it. I was just terrible at the game, and I played a little bit in high school, but I can't even tell you if I was ever more than an alternate. I lied about all my scores. My coach was smart enough to know that because I was not putting up the 42s or 43s that I was saying. They were in the 50s and 60s. I'm not in match play.
Okay, because you can't lie. It's the one sport where you can't cheat and you can't lie.
I would not lie to an actual. I think I was like, the only way I'm ever going to actually be in a position that can contribute would be if I lied about these scores, and not realizing that eventually, if the coach called my bluff, I was screwed. So luckily he was too smart for that. And then honestly, like, I played sporadically in college, but I kind of got away from the game. I would play occasionally, but still terrible. My mother ended up moving to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. And once you're down there for a day, a week, everywhere you go, it's golf. And
Right.
it reinvigorated my love of the game. And so next thing I knew, I was a member at a course in Worcester called Green Hill, and spent a few years there with some friends. Had a great time. Pandemic hit, kind of made things weird, and kind of started bouncing around. And now I'm a member at what's called the Tri-State Group. And so they have 3 courses. They used to have a Massachusetts course, trying to get another one, I believe. But Raceway in Thompson, Connecticut, Harrisville in Woodstock, Connecticut, and Melody Hill in Chepachet, Rhode Island, I believe it is. I'm now I'm eager for them to expand so that I can just play as much as possible. But my game in general.
Hold on a second. There's a lot to unpack.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Where would you like to start?
Well, you live in what town right now?
I live in Auburn, and so it's
okay. And what is that? Is that a city in the United States? Is that
it is right outside of Worcester. I know most people
don't. Which side of Worcester? Now it sounds like I'm quoting The Departed. Not supposed to be doing this close to Worcester. This side of Worcester. So, which side of Worcester do you live on?
South side, baby. And
okay.
If it's nice and close to the Connecticut border, so my commute to Raceway is only about 20 minutes. Down to Harrisville is about 30. It's a little further to get out to Rhode Island, but it's a great situation for me. We used to sneak down. I mean, I should whisper this. We used to sneak down over the border during the pandemic. Remember when Massachusetts golf courses were supposedly closed?
Dude, I have friends who would do that, and they would have somebody in Rhode Island that they were playing with, and they would have an agreed upon meeting spot, and they would all pile into that, Rhode Island person's car because they were checking license plates in the parking lot.
So they told us that somehow became an urban legend because we were worried about it too. We're like, oh my God, Connecticut State Police are going to catch us coming over the border. Turns out there was never any decree or anything like that, at least that I'm aware. And so once we sort of learned that, we became even more bullish. And then we got word that a lot of courses back in Massachusetts might have been leave a few dollars in the pail and go ahead on your way. Carts were available around.
But before we get to your play this season, so
Sure.
right now you're a member of a group of golf courses, 3 of them, but the closest one is how far from your home?
20 minutes.
Oh, okay,
18,
okay,
18 on a good day. Yeah, it's not
okay, all
far.
right, all right, all right. Well,
Yeah,
that
no,
that explains it a little bit. Okay,
right. But
all right,
also like the people at these courses have spoiled us with their kindness with I do like a Sunday morning thing down at Harrisville. We try to get to Raceway during the week so you still get different looks at courses. I always worried when I signed up for a membership that I would get burnt out on courses. Like, oh, I'm just, I'm sick of this track, and I'd play the same 18 every day. But this breaks it up a little bit and gives you options. And like I said, I'm eager. I think I don't want to speak for the tri-state group, but I do believe that their model, I think more people should adapt.
yep,
So that you
sure,
can get more courses.
yeah.
And when they used to have a Massachusetts course here in Dudley, which is close to where I live, and I suspect they will eventually have another, and
There
that
are
will make it even more beneficial for
Yeah,
me.
there are some clubs that have, reciprocal agreements with clubs, but it's not quite the same as having a membership essentially at all these different clubs. In the Cape Club in Sharon, you can go play the Cape Club in Falmouth,
Mm,
and you can also play the Cape Club in Florida, which I've not yet played, but that's on my list of things to do next year.
mm,
So, yeah, that is, I mean, it makes sense to have multiple courses, and that way you can, grow your membership if you're going to cap yourself at 300 golfers at a club.
right.
Well, if the guys are and women, men and women are legitimately utilizing all 3 courses in the group, then yeah, you can get 1,000 members, and hopefully people will kind of spread it around, or you have certain tee times on certain days for certain courses, whatever. It
and
makes
and,
sense
and so
to me.
the, and just to tell you, like the biggest benefit is when and everyone goes through this, right? When your course has an outing or they're punching greens, you're like,
Yeah,
I don't want to stop playing for a day or week, whatever the case is, and this gives us options to go, and it gives us another reason to go explore the
yeah,
other courses. So I'm very thankful to be part of it. Now my game,
yeah.
Hardy, this is where the trouble begins. So I've always probably hovered. I think I got to a 12 during the pandemic, maybe a 14. I'd
Okay.
have to go back. I'd have to go back and check the numbers. I started this year and I was like, I figured this game out. And I think I told you the last time I was on here, I said, man, this
Yeah.
game is easy.
Famous last
And
words.
yeah, and boy, did it humble me quickly. And once a year, I go through the shanks, and it's always the same sort of deal. Irons start flying right for no apparent reason, and I videotape myself and realize I don't know, it doesn't tell me anything. I downloaded like a bunch of AI apps.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
worse.
Okay. Yeah, I know. And people have done that. Let me ask you this. And I don't know anything. You and I
Mm.
have very similar games, it sounds like. But I was having the weak right iron shots a lot earlier this season. Are they weak, or are they flying off and spinning right?
They are, put it this way, one of the courses, Harrisville, the third hole is a par 5 that runs next to like a big corn farm or something like that. I've hit the corn farm multiple times this
Okay.
season.
But second shot, third shot, irons,
Second, oh yeah,
everything.
second shot, second, like hard iron, flying right, and probably almost taking out cars as they navigate the road before the cornfield.
Okay, so I was suffering from what I would call a weak fade earlier this season, and yeah, I was telling a neighbor of mine about it, who was a very good player, and he just said ball position, and he's played with me
mm,
before, and he goes, you start to get you start to lose your confidence, and he said, me specifically, you Hardy, he said, you move the ball way too far up in your stance. You start trying to,
interesting.
so it's like like a scooping thing or whatever, but what it results in is, and again, I talk like I know what I'm talking
No,
about,
no,
and
no.
I
All,
talk
all
like I'm
reports
good.
are that you know more than me
No, no, no,
by
no, no, no,
far.
no. I stink. I'm terrible at the game. I have been for 40 years. Okay. But this one thing he told me is like, move the ball back a little bit in your stance. I did nothing else, and it helped things dramatically. And it's gone from like
Really?
this weak fade to now this majestic high fade slice that at least, but at least you can plan for that. At least I can aim
Yeah.
left of the target, and know that the ball is going to get there because they're, I like you, and like everybody, you play well first handful of times out, and then something weird starts going on. It's like, man, I can't hit the ball. Like,
it's
say,
unbelievable.
I'm used to hitting an 8-iron, say 140 yards, right? And instead I'm stepping up there and the 8-iron is going maybe 125 on this really anemic fade that doesn't have any distance. It's going off target. And all I had to do was move the ball. And it's not like I'm playing it off my back foot. I'm playing it in the proper position. I'm just not playing it too far forward. So it's something to consider. I don't know. Look at me. And again, I feel like such an a-hole, like giving tips because I'm the last person. I have no business. I'm just passing along a tip that was given to me that I'm now giving to you.
I'm going to pull up the app I downloaded. So what's funny is this app, and I won't promote them just yet. We'll see what you think. But so you videotape your swing. You can either do it face on or down the line. And down the line is very forgiving because it can't really see what your body's doing. And so my score was decent, like not great, but still decent. Then I did it face on, and it gives you a score out of 10. My first swing was a 0.9. And I'm gonna read for you what the 6 issues it found with my swing. Left knee bend at the top, casting in the downswing, head up at impact, chicken wing follow through, reverse spine tilt at the top.
No. Actually, the reverse spine tilt is kind of cool. It's bad if you're doing it on purpose. That's a real power move.
Loss of spine angle at the top and follow through forward lunge.
Oh.
So what I think it does, it deducts like 2 points for everything that you have on there. So I was practically into the negative.
Yeah, that's like it, like overall score crime scene. That's what that is.
Literally like, and what's great is it links to all these YouTube videos you can then watch to figure it out. Now, of course, paralysis and by analysis, right? Like analysis by paralysis, I think it is. I'm like way too much going on in my head. Didn't cure me at all. It really just came down to, I believe, one, I was decelerating and I was not confidently swinging at the ball, and that was promoting it going right. And so I just didn't play the last couple of weeks with the Celtics in the playoffs. And I came back this weekend and I played okay. Like not great. It still wasn't fixed. I still was like really locked in on every shot because like otherwise it was going to spray. But sometimes you just need to reset the brain and stop overthinking it. Yeah, and that helped.
Okay. So I'm not going to talk about my game at all.
No. We're going to hit you with the app next and see what I bet you're like an 8.2.
There's no way I'm in any way good or going to score well or anything like that. I don't want to talk about it. What I do want to talk about, though, with you is the PGA Championship, the second major of the year. So if you can stick around for a minute, we'll come back.
Of course.
We'll recap what happened at Quail Hollow, and we'll do that next year on the Sports Hub Golf Club. Chris Forsberg is with us here this morning on the Sports Hub Golf Club. Did I catch you by surprise? You didn't think you were going to be back on this quick.
My dog wandered into the room. I don't know. I think he's hearing this golf talk and wondering, why isn't Dad talking about basketball?
Oh, well, because, dog, the Celtics decided to have their no-show game in Game 6 as opposed to Game 7. I guess maybe we would still be talking and having this conversation now, but
there's a chance.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about last weekend's major championship, the PGA Championship. First of all, you've been a fan of golf long enough to remember when the PGA was held in August, and we would be in the doldrums right now. We'd be long removed from the Masters and still a month or so away from the U.S. Open. How do you feel about this moving of the PGA from August to May?
Don't love it. It actually kind of, even though I know it's been happening, it like took me by surprise this year for whatever reason. I was like, wait, we're already didn't we just do a major? Like we're doing another one. And also because the last major was so great, this one felt maybe a little anticlimactic. Like I needed more storylines going in, like the Scotty revisiting and wearing the orange on Thursday was great. But like, I mean, the big storyline going into it or as part of it became your non-conforming drivers I'm not sure that's
Right.
enough to fuel the casual golf fan.
Yeah.
It was refreshing that by Sunday it became an interesting tournament. And I've told you, I guess I'm in the minority, but I am a Bryson fan, and I was kind of hoping he would rally. I wouldn't say I'm a John Rahm fan. I'm not full live here, but for the sake of the sport and how good he was before he headed overseas, I was hopeful that he would make a charge there at the end. And boy, did they all fall apart
Yeah.
besides Scotty.
Well, it's interesting that you use the word anticlimactic or something to that effect, because I feel that way about the PGA Championship before they moved it out of August. I mean, you had the Masters and the long layoff sucked, but then you had the US Open, the British Open. Oh, we get another major. Which one is it? Oh, it's the one that nobody really cares about. It's the last one of the year, and it's the one that seems to have the I think it's fair to say the least interesting golf courses that it's played at.
Yes.
And we heard the players talking about Quail Hollow this week. I didn't hear anyone who was like a real fan of it. The best line was Hunter Mahan comparing it to a Kardashian. Looks really nice, but no soul.
Yep.
And so, by the end of the summer, you've got this PGA Championship, and it's like, who really cares? And then there's a handful of golfers, admittedly the ones who only have one major to their name, and it's a PGA Championship, and they'll say it's great. But the only of the luminaries I ever heard talk about it with any reverence, I think maybe was Nicklaus, who back in the day said that the PGA Championship was, this great thing for golf and for the PGA. But
how do we change that? How do we gimmick this one? Because the British Open has, I don't know if it's just British Open and Masters have the lure, they're institutions. Like, do we need, and the US Open has the,
well, you're never going to, I mean, the one thing I will say is that it does have that tiny element of meritocracy to it, where, a PGA professional can qualify and make it through qualifying and get in, but it doesn't touch what the US Open and Open Championships are about, which is literally anybody. As long as you've got a low enough starting index to go to one of these tournaments and try and qualify, you can get in, which you can't do for the PGA Championship. You already have to be a PGA professional. So it doesn't have that. It doesn't have that, true openness that the US and British Opens have. That's number one. Masters has the history. It's got the golf course that we all know. It's the only of the majors that is always played at the same course. So, you and I and everyone who watches the Masters every year, we know these holes. We know what it means when they're coming to Amen Corner. We know what the 13th hole is and how it differs from the 15th hole. We know, essentially everything about that golf course. So while neither the US Open or British Opens are going to have that, maybe a little bit with the British and St. Andrews, the PGA certainly isn't going to have that. And it's okay. Look, if you're doing a ranking of the 4 major championships, someone's got to be fourth. Yeah. And I think it's going to be the PGA Championship. And it's not our job to fix it. That was an unfair question. How do we fix that? Who says we have to fix it? Who cares?
Would you think it would? I'm just wondering though, do you think it would be better if they just picked a spot? And then we get attached to the course that it's got some sort of quaintness to it, instead of being like, "Hey, we're going to Charlotte."
Yeah,
and
absolutely do that.
And I don't know what the best you got to think of something that differentiates, and sometimes it's just by the location. But it's weird to say that I was more intrigued by that Philadelphia course that they went to that they had never played before, that looked great on TV, and it had its own issues, but at least it was a different view. And maybe if you, again, that's a bad comparison because that's the first time I'm seeing a course, but there's got to be a course out there where people would be like, oh, it's there again this year. We need, I'm excited for that. And I don't know. It just needs something. It needs some other little pizzazz to it.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. What we did get this year, though, at the PGA was Scotty Scheffler, who put on an absolute clinic on Saturday. I watched a lot of that third round, and while other guys were, for the most part, blowing up, and I'm looking at the, all the way down to tie for 8th, which covers 16 players in the field. Their Saturday rounds, I see a 67 in there from John Rahm, who we thought it was, was going to be in the hunt on Sunday, which he was for a minute. JT Poston shot a 68. Davis Riley also shot 67. Scotty Scheffler with the 65. And the way he shot it and the way he finished his round on Saturday was really, really special. I mean, I don't know how much of it you saw, Chris, but
a lot.
It was a clinic off the tee, from the fairway, with the putter. It was everything but the short game, which he didn't need because it seemed like he was hitting every green in regulation.
Just to tell you what a degenerate I am is that so to drown my sorrows after the Celtics lost that Friday night, I found a little spot in Brooklyn to have a beverage. Kicked on the morning tea times. I've got the ESPN Plus, so I can watch even like the Thursday, Friday rounds. And
nice.
Obviously the coverage starts early with the majors, but still like just kick back, see how everybody's doing. Maybe have a little action on like a random head to head. You want to know what my preferred head to head going into the tournament was?
What?
Patrick Reed versus Dustin Johnson.
Oh man, you are a live guy. You love that live.
Here's the thing. I mean, I can't believe I'm transitioning from Scotty to the guy who shot plus 12 here, but I'm a huge DJ fan. He went to Coastal Carolina, which is like right near where my mom lives, down in Myrtle.
By the way, did you see him interviewed about Coastal Carolina and some of the questions they were asking him?
They were so good.
It was, yeah. It was, did you actually have to go to class? Questions like that.
What I feel bad about is that so I guess he didn't have a great relationship with the golf coach there, and so he hasn't kind of come back. And I think he still donates, but he's nothing like come back to campus and hang out at the Hackler course down there. But it's so close to my mom's house that we play there often. It's super cheap. It's a fun little track. They're renovating the clubhouse. You can buy any Coastal Carolina gear you want. But here's the problem: Dustin Johnson has not played a good round of golf in like 10 years. So, and especially, at least since going to live. And so I as much as I love him, I fade him whenever I get the chance on a PGA event because you kind of know. And I thought Reed would play better. He actually didn't make the cut either, but +4 beats +12. And so by the weekend, I was all locked up on that. But to your bigger point, no one was competing with Scotty because Scotty, that green mile just blew everybody out of the water. Everyone else was like over par. I believe he was under par for that stretch. Where everybody else struggled, and Rahm hitting water. Even Bryson was just not locked in at the end there. And you just never felt like anyone was truly going to make a push, and Scotty was going to put it away. And good for him. Loves taking his little kid into the scores lounge there to fill out the scorecard, and he's rolling around on the floor. And even better was the Nike ad. Something like number one player in the world, guilty. What a nice little callback for that moment.
Well, Sunday ended up being a little anticlimactic down the stretch. But if you were watching on Saturday, you saw Scotty birdie 3 of his last 5 coming in, and then on the back after a bogey at 11, he goes birdie bogey eagle on 14. He hit a 3-wood about 300 yards right down in front, short of the green, rolled up to just a couple of feet. A kick-in eagle on 14, and then birdies 15, 17, and 18.
He's just so good.
It's just, and you look at him, and my wife asked me as we were watching the end of it on Sunday, she's like, how old is he? And I said, I don't know, 32, 33. He's 28.
Yeah, it's crazy, right?
He carries himself, with a lot more maturity than that. And it is scary to think, like, if he can maintain that swing in all aspects of his game. And we've said this about a lot of players over the last 10, 15 years, whether it's Jordan Spieth or Justin Thomas, Dustin Johnson, and we mentioned earlier, Bryson. It's very hard to continue to play at this level for any, type of duration.
Yeah.
But he seems to have the mindset that might allow him to do it. And it is scary to think what he might be able to accomplish.
And as you said, he doesn't need every asset of the game going. Like his chipping can be off, and he's still just going to smoke you because his approach play is so good, and he's not missing a lot of greens. And it's crazy to think that a couple of years ago he was going through the issue with the putter, and before he switched it up, and now he just feels like there's no holes in the game. And I do have the great appreciation for guys that are consistent. I mean, Phil made the mistake of, what was his tweet? Like, I don't think Scotty's going to win one at any point this year. But he's coming off the hand injury and all that. And then he wins in the ramp to this event and then wins the major. I don't know. Just, probably not best to poke the bear with the way Scotty's playing. And you see, like, Spieth had a couple good weeks. I thought he was going to turn the corner, and then it's right back down. Justin Thomas from week to week, you just
same
don't know.
thing. Same thing. Yeah.
And there's Scotty, like, even in when he was coming back from the injury, he was still in contention every single week, at least like, you were still worried he'd be 5 shots back going into Sunday. And you're like, well, Scotty might still have a chance in this tournament. And that speaks highly. I love every time I see one of those stats, like their last 25 starts, and he's like, missed, I think for his career, someone said they missed like 4 cuts. He's, all the majors, and you start looking at it, the only guys that he's ever not like in the same company with is Tiger and Jack. And it's like, man, it's special. And I don't know when we'll start appreciating it more. Maybe we're already there, but
we've been spoiled by, starting with Tiger, and then with, guys who come out and they win a few majors early on. And if you go, heaven forbid, you go a year without winning one, then you start to hear things like what happened to Scotty Scheffler. Like, he just won the Masters 15 months ago. What are you talking about? What happened to him? Well, it's almost as though he's out there proving nothing happened to me. See, I can win something other than the Masters, and I can do it and make it look kind of easy as I'm doing it. All right. So, Forsberg, I've taken enough of your time, which is a shame. We don't have time to preview the Charles Schwab Challenge, which I know is what everybody is waiting for now. So instead, maybe what we'll do is I'll give you a break for a few weeks. Fred always makes fun of me for, forcing you to do this.
No.
But if you'd be willing to come back on a few weeks, we'll do a U.S. Open preview and then a wrap up, and we'll talk about the next major on the calendar about a month.
And the Travelers is right after the U.S. Open, right?
Yes.
The one you're going down to. So
absolutely.
So I might have to invade.
Oh yeah, dude, it's right down the street from you. Are you kidding?
Right.
Is TPC River Highlands one of the courses in that group you belong to?
I'd have to check the card, but it might be. Yeah, I'm almost afraid to see the pros play because they're just too good. But as you know, standing reverse invite. Like, whenever you need me, I'm here. I've got time on my hands, and I am willing to yap about golf because no one else wants to hear me talk about it.
Perfect. Chris Forsberg, NBC Sports Boston. And let's just say it, 98.5, the Sports Hub Golf Club. He's now part of the show. Thanks for the time again, buddy. We'll do it again soon.
Adding it to the resume. Thank you, Hardy.